Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be going through all the books that I am hopefully going to be reading in April. So I'm filming this on the 27th of March and it might be a little bit early to say this, but I'm pretty sure that March is going to be the first month this year where I actually complete a TBR on time, because there's only 2 books left from my March TBR that I still have to read. The first is Jade War, which I've started and I'm about 200 pages into, and then the second is Mexican Gothic, which I'm planning to start either tonight or tomorrow as my ebook read. So yeah, in a pretty good place at the moment with my reading, and I'm really excited for April because there's 2 readathons that I want to take part in April. The first is the Magical Readathon that's hosted by G at Book Roast, and then the second is Eurovisionathon, which is hosted by Helen from Helen's Bookhaven. So I will leave links to both of those announcement videos in the description just in case you wanted to check them out and find out more information. But yeah, I think the way that I'm going to structure this video is that I'm going to do my TBR rolls as usual for my TBR game, and then I'm going to talk through the books that I've picked to match those prompts, and then I'll also mention how they relate to the readathons. If this is the first time you're watching my TBR game, then I will leave a link to the playlist in the description just in case you wanted to watch it from the beginning. But yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say in this intro, so let's go with roll number 1. Okay, so here we go with roll number 1, which is a 1, which is fantasy. So for roll number 1 we landed on fantasy, and for this I'm going to go for The Emperor's Soul by Brandon Sanderson, which is a very short novella that's set within the Elantris universe, and I don't really know much about the plot for this book because it's only about 100 pages and I don't really want to know what it's about because I'm pretty sure that I'll find out quite quickly once I start it. But yeah, I read Elantris back at the start of March and really enjoyed it, so I'm really excited to read more books within this universe. This is fitting the Magical Readathon prompt for spells and incantations, which is to read a book or read short stories or essays, and this is a short story, so I'm pretty sure that it counts. I would also really like to try and get round to The Hope of Elantris in April because again this is another short story that's set within the Elantris universe, and I think this one is only like 25 pages, and that would be able to fulfill the Magical Readathon prompt for elemental studies, which is to read a book that's under 100 pages. I'm pretty sure that both The Hope of Elantris and The Emperor's Soul were the COSMERE UNBOUNDED read-along books for March, and I never got round to them, so it would be nice to read them quite early in April. Roll number 2 is a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is Other. For roll number 2 we landed on Other, and for this I've decided to go for Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson, which is the second book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. This is a YA mystery series that follows a girl called Pip, and in the first book she was basically investigating this mystery in her hometown as part of a school project. Basically there was this girl that went missing a few years ago, and Pip was convinced that the guy that was arrested wasn't actually responsible and that he was innocent. And so I won't say what happens in the first book because obviously spoilers, but I think that in this book Pippa has now started a podcast, and I think that someone she knows goes missing and the police won't do anything, and so Pip decides to investigate it herself. Really glad that I reread the first book in this series quite recently because there was some stuff that I'd forgotten especially towards the end of the book, and yeah, I've been meaning to continue this series since then so that I can finally find out how it ends. But Helen actually gifted this to me, I think it was for Christmas a couple of years ago, so yeah, I'm glad that I'm finally getting round to it. Roll number 3 is a 2. We're on at 2, which is a challenge. And the challenge is read the lowest rated book on your TBR. So roll number 3 landed on challenge, and for this I need to read the lowest rated book on my TBR. So what I did was I went onto Goodreads and I organised my wanna read shelf based on average rating, and then I've picked the lowest rated book that I already own because I don't want to have to buy any books to fulfill any prompts. But the lowest rated book at the moment that's on my TBR according to Goodreads is The Paris Apartment Readathon by Lucy Foley, which, to be fair, it has a 3.74 average rating, so it's not super low, but it is lower than I was expecting, considering that this is quite a new release. From what I know about this book, it follows a girl called Jess who really needs a fresh start, and she contacts her brother, who reluctantly says that she can stay at his apartment in Paris. But when she arrives, she finds out that her brother is missing, and I think that the neighbours are acting a little bit dodgy. The plot for this actually reminds me a little bit of Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, which I gave 5 stars. And so even though I didn't love The Guest List or The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, I think I gave them both 3 stars. Didn't love them as much as I wanted to, but the plot for this does sound intriguing, and so I am willing to give it a go. I have an arc of this through NetGalley, so I do need to read it to review it, especially because I think this book has come out already. I'm just really bad at getting around to my arcs on time, but I can also use this for Eurovisionathon because it takes place in France, I'm assuming, since the book is called The Paris Apartment. But I think I can also use it for the conjuration prompt for the Magical Readathon, which is to read a book that has a source of light on the cover. And the UK edition does have like the silhouette of a door with a light behind it, so I think it counts. Okay, so roll number, is this roll number 4? Is a 3. 1, 2, 3, which is Other again. So roll number 4 landed on Other, and for this I've decided to read Circe by Madeline Miller, which, would this be considered historical because it's a Greek myth retelling? But I've had this on my Kindle for a while and just not got round to it. I read The Song of Achilles last year and really enjoyed it. I really liked Madeline Miller's writing style, so I have been excited to get round to this. I know that Circe was the daughter of Helios, who was the god of the sun, but otherwise I don't really know much about this. I think she was also banished to a deserted island. But yeah, I don't want to know much more than that, because with books like this, I'd rather read the book and then look up the source material rather than the other way round, because I don't want to accidentally spoil myself, even though I don't think you can really say that it's spoilers when obviously it's mythology. In terms of the readathons that I'm taking part in, I can use this for the lore magical readathon prompt, which is to read a book that's mythology-inspired, and then I can also use it for Greece in Eurovisionathon. Okay, so I'm losing track of what roll we're on, but I think this is roll number 5, which is a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is another challenge. And the challenge is read a big book over 500 pages. So roll number 5 landed on challenge again, and the prompt was to read a big book that's over 500 pages. So I'm gonna combine this with the magical readathon prompt for Inscription, which is to read an intimidating read. So, a book that I've been wanting to read for a long time, that's over 500 pages, and that also scares the crap out of me, is Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. So this is the 3rd book in the Greenbone saga. As I mentioned, I am currently reading Jade War and really enjoying it. So my plan is to finish Jade War and go straight into Jade Legacy. So this should be the first book that I read in April. I am terrified to read this because I know that it's going to emotionally destroy me. I've heard so many people say that the ending to this series is amazing, and just in general I love the characters in this series, and I love Fonda Lee's writing, and I love that she is not afraid to go there and to do that. So very, very intimidated by this book. It is a chunky one. This is the Illumicrate special edition, which has the stenciled edges. But yeah, very excited to finally be completing this series, because I have a feeling that it's going to be a new favourite. For anyone who doesn't know, this series is set in a world where you have this substance called jade, which is a jewel that you can wear, and it gives you superhuman powers. However, it's also like a drug, so if you haven't had the right training and you touch jade, then you can become addicted to it. There's a lot of family drama and a lot of politics, and I love it. I love the characters in this series, and I'm so excited. but also nervous to see how it ends. Okay, so next roll we have a 3, 1, 2, 3, which is romance. So roll number 6 landed on romance, and there are a lot of romance books that I've been wanting to read recently, but the one that I've decided to go for is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I think my cousin read this back in January and gave it 5 stars, which straight away had me intrigued because my cousin never gives books 5 stars, and she did say that she thinks I'm gonna like it, and I'm pretty sure that this was also nominated in the Goodreads Choice Awards last year, so it is one that has been piquing my interest. I think that the only thing that's put me off is that I've heard it's a second chance romance, and I don't typically have much luck with second chance romances, but I believe that this is about 2 writers in New York, and I do love books that are set in New York because New York is one of my favourite cities. I think the 2 main characters met about 20 years ago and things didn't work out for some reason, but they've been writing to each other through their books, and that just sounds really romantic, and I've only heard great things about this. I don't think I've heard any negative reviews. This also fits the Magical Readathon prompt for alchemy, which is to read a book that features romance. I feel like we've had a lot of rolls, so hopefully this is going to be the last roll, which is a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so those are all the books that I am hopefully going to be reading in April. I don't know if I mentioned actually, but the Magical Readathon takes place over the whole of the month, whereas Eurovisionathon doesn't start until partway through the month, and then it runs until mid to late May. So any books that I mentioned that I'm reading for Eurovisionathon, I won't be reading until towards the end of the month, once the readathon has started. But yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to say in this video. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, let me know in the comments what you're hoping to read in April, and especially if you're taking part in either of these readathons, let me know if you've read any of the books that I've talked about on this TBR, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye!